I have the pleasure today of being joined by Adam LG Ring. Adam is the global head of IBM Z startup and AI community at IBM. Adam, great to see you. Thanks for making time to catch up.
Thanks, Dez. Great to be on the show. I'm delighted to be here and have an opportunity to speak to your audience.
Indeed. So, for our audience, just to give you a summary of kind of what we're going to catch up today, we're going to have a great conversation with Adam around a range of things. Specifically, today's focus is the annual IBM Z Day event. IBM Z Day 2025 is coming up on November the 12th. And we're going to talk about the event, the format, the flow, the presentation tracks, some of the keynote speakers, and a whole range of other things. We're also going to get to know Adam a little bit better, talk about what a day in the life of Adam LG Ring is like in his role as the global head of IBM Z startup and AI community and what that actually entails. Um, and we're also going to delve into some of the key things that the event itself has got on offer. So not just the flow and format, but some of the key tracks, the topics, and some exciting stuff with regard to skills, opportunities, and even some badges you can earn. Adam, to kick us off, I wonder if you could maybe just give us a very brief outline of kind of your background and your career path and how you came to this amazing role at IBM to sort of head up the global IBM Z startup community and in particularly the AI community.
Sure, Des. Before I joined IBM, I worked about 30 years in startups with successes and failures. And before that, I was at the Reserve Bank of Australia. Now I'm working in the IBM Z ecosystem worldwide team. We have a startup community where we're encouraging them to look at IBM Z technology with their solutions. I'm also tasked with running one of the tracks, the security track on IBM Z Day. I'm also in charge of the ecosystem and skills in Australia and New Zealand. So IBM's definitely keeping me busy. We recently went on a tour of some of the regions, countries in APAC, talking about IBM Z skills, which is important to our clients, um, and all related to the global ecosystem at IBM, which means community. I like this because the ecosystem department is not selling, it's not pushing products, but it's enabling and encouraging our community to talk about our products and help each other. And this is the flywheel that we want to grow, which it helps us economically, but really it's a win-win between us and the clients and the global community.
Indeed, and I'd like to dive into some of those a little later in our conversation. But following on that, I wonder, most people tell me there's no such thing as a standard day, but what is overall a day in the life of Adam LG Ring as the global head of IBM Z startup and AI community at IBM like? Is there such a thing as a standard day, or what's a day in the life of Adam like?
So there's with the role in Australia and New Zealand, I often have meetings during the day here in Australia, but also I'm working with the American team, so that's meetings late at night. You're probably familiar with this. So you can, if you're not careful, you can end up with like a 24-hour day, and then it starts all over again. So occasionally I've got like a mini pneumonia from overworking, so I've had to discipline myself a little bit better. But yeah, it's great because really every conversation is not about trying to sell something to someone like a salesperson, which has never attracted me. It's more about, oh, what value are you getting out of IBM Z or Linux One? And how can we encourage you to talk about it? Because that's really beneficial to us and also for instance, our startups, it's beneficial for them to be seen to be talking about the technology and associating themselves with IBM. Often our startups were working with our big clients, and the value our big client sees in them includes the fact that IBM is there, their technology is keeping the solution secure, and the experience and um, long history of IBM is kind of behind that startup, which is a really strong differentiating point for our startups.
Absolutely. And again, we're going to dive into a lot of those key points later on in the conversation. Amazing to get a little insight into your background and what a day in the life is like. Appreciate that. Let's now dive into today's key topic, which is the IBM Z Day 2025 event, and dive into some of the details around the key tracks, the presenters, and particularly what attendees can look forward to on the day. And just before we dive into that, for our audience, wherever you see this, whether it's on our YouTube channel, on vidneon.com, whether it's on social media and digital posts and platforms and so forth, you will see wherever you see this interview and conversation links to the IBM Z Day 2025 website and all the other resources we discussed, whether it's IBM Z Day page, whether it's the IBM Z ecosystem, or whether it's just IBM's website, and certainly the company and Adam's professional profiles on digital and social spaces where we would love you to go and connect and follow and so forth. So IBM Z Day 2025, the event, I'd love to sort of walk through briefly its overall format, its focus and topics. And I know you've had a hand in actually creating the event, so we'll delve into that as well. So the annual event, IBM Z Day 2025, for our audience coming up on November the 12th. So do go and find that link to the event page wherever you see this. Click on it, check it all out, and register early. Make sure you don't miss out. Obviously, we'd like you to turn up on the day and be part of the conversation and join that community live. But if for whatever reason you are either in the wrong time zone or have something that's a clash, register and make sure you can catch it on replay and on demand. And also invite a couple of friends, create a community, maybe set it up so you're all in the boardroom having some coffees and sandwiches and tune into it so you can have a bit of a discussion around it yourselves in-house, because there'll be a whole range of reasons that you'll see by the end of this conversation that this is a not to be missed event. It's described on your website, Adam, as, I'm going to quote this, a free one-day enterprise computing virtual conference for anyone and everyone, which is insanely great. Where attendees can learn about the latest news and insights about not just the IBM Z and Linux on platforms, but also industry trends, innovations spanning the likes of artificial intelligence and hybrid cloud, quantum safe security, and a whole range more. I wonder if you could maybe just walk us firstly through the overall format of the event, and then we can sort of dive into some of the highlights.
Yeah, thanks, Des. Yeah, IBM Z Day, I've been working on that the last 3 years. I'm very passionate about it. It's not an opportunity for IBM talking heads. It's not an opportunity for us to do product walkthroughs or talk to a deck or feel like you're on a Teams call or a webinar. It is really about getting our community and our clients to come on stage with us, and it's live, and we have a conversation about how they're using the technology. And that's often very interesting to our other clients who are watching to learn from what's gone right with that. Um, and the 6 tracks that we do are supplemented by a skills track as well. Now, one of the challenges is it's a global event run on New York time, which, coming from Australia, talking to you here from Sydney, that's often a challenge because, as we mentioned before, I'm up late at night and people would have to be up late at night watching it live. But we do have a solution for that. If you register before the event, we have delayed telecast for Australia the very next day, but so you can watch it during business hours. But also you can watch it live in the afternoon of November 12th in Australia or in the APAC region. You're getting the skills track in the Australian afternoon, and I will actually be hosting a special Australian, and not to leave out New Zealand and the other countries around here. I don't want to be all about Australia, but yeah, a down under session where we talk about the experience with IBM Z, which is very strong in Australia, and that's why we want to put a lot of effort into it. So yeah, that'll be something to look out for and to register for to watch live. So really, you're almost getting 2 days worth of events in Australia. And
Fantastic.
the 6 tracks we cover are IBM Z. This is the primary track we do every year, and that's really focused on the main things we want to talk about. AI and data. You can now do AI in the mainframe. You want to hear examples of clients doing this, then you want to check out this track. And that's looking really interesting this year. Another one that we do every year is application app dev and IT ops. And so that's quite technical and very interesting to people working in mainframe and on IBM Zs. And security is the track that I'm organizing. We've got a great lineup there, which also includes AI. Like, one of the things you want to do with AI is make sure it's secure, because it's in some ways even more risky than traditional computing to leave the door open, so to speak. And ecosystem in action. This is really a celebration of the community. So this is really going out there and not just talking to clients, but fans of IBM Z. That's our job, to drive excitement among those people. So yeah, a great lineup, and it's always an entertaining event. We really try to make it not a boring sales pitch, but the first job is to entertain you, the audience, And the second is to hear stories from our clients about using IBM Z and Linux One and AI on the mainframe, all those things.
Indeed. The first thing I've been telling people is just make sure you bring a pen and pad and take notes, or use whatever transcribing app on your phone if you're listening to it on hands-free, because there's going to be so many things that come out of this to essentially have as key takeaways that are actionable and probably should be following you into meetings and boardroom sessions where you can then turn around at the risk of sounding sycophantic saying, hey, I tuned into IBM Z Day 2025. We have mainframes. Did you know we can actually integrate our AI into our systems on the mainframe? I didn't. I learned this today. We need to get across this. And we'll come back to that in a moment, but I just wanted to summarize a lot of the notes you talked about there, because there are 6 key tracks which are detailed on the website as you went through. They start with doing more at the core with IBM Z, which we'll get into in a moment, getting AI value today, which is critical, so people are now having to deliver results with AI implementation or adoption. Get more from your team, your IT, and yourself, which is an interesting track. I'll be looking forward to that one. Protect the critical data and workloads, which is very much the DNA of the mainframe platform, particularly IBM Z and the Linux One Linux focused platform. Skill up and take your career to new heights. There's a lot of really great opportunities to not just learn stuff through the keynotes and presentations, but also some fun opportunities to go and actually learn new skills and get some badges and certification as a result of that. And in particular, a whole thread around why Z skills are important, which I'd like to come back to in a minute, because I think I've had a number of conversations in the last week alone just on that. And then there's an innovation showcase, which, as you said, it's not a sales pitch, it's a show and tell. I think one of the great things I like about this event every year is that it's more of a, tell me what you're doing, don't sell me what you're doing.
Ah,
And
I like it.
yeah, yeah, don't sell me, tell me. And obviously it talks about the IBM Z and showcases the IBM Z and Linux One ecosystem solutions. I wanted to come back to one of those in particular because it really does jump out at me, and I want our audience to really think about this and make notes from today's conversation. And another reason to go check out the event website and learn why you should be registering right now for IBM Z Day 2025. And that is that, there are a lot of people losing jobs because of downscaling, of economic impact, and particularly the impact of AI, where things are being automated. It's just one of those things that happens over different generations of technology. One of the things that I keep talking to people about is, have you sharpened up your mainframe skills, your IBM Z skills? And when they ask why, I say to them, well, if you talk to anybody that's sort of on that ecosystem, on that platform, and you look at their LinkedIn profiles, they're 20, 25 plus years long in one amazing company, but with a really exciting career path of doing new and amazing things on this platform. Whereas when I talk to people who are in other spaces, which may be, cloud first or hyperscalers or, on-prem or data center infrastructure, they're bouncing backwards and forwards every 3 to 5 years with the frustration of having to find a new job. And so I think this is a really great opportunity, and I'd love to get you to expand on this, because this is really a case of, where you tap into that startup community all the way through to well-established organizations. That these skills are going to get you a career path and a roadmap where you can get a great job on a great platform that will challenge you for decades, but you're not constantly having to look for a new job. You must see this constantly on a daily basis across what you do with a combination of the startup ecosystem and then long-running multi-decade clients where the staff have been there for a long time. There is no churn. They're growing and building their skills, they're learning from IBM on the Z platform and so forth. Walk us through that whole topic, because I think this is something from an event point of view that a lot of people may not realize. They can get some skills, they can get some badges and certifications, and they're going to learn a whole bunch of reasons why this is the ecosystem platform that their organization should be run on.
Yeah, I love the way, Des, you sum up IBM Z Day. I think you do a better job than I do. Uh, and I'm glad you brought up IBM Z skills, because that was the point of the IBM Z Community Days tour. I gave the community keynote, and it was all about skills. And essentially, to compress this half an hour talk into like a minute, I said, okay, I had clients in the room and some students, and I was saying, okay, we have a career depot now where the students will go to our online platform, IBM Z Explore. They'll do a little bit of work, about 12 hours work, to earn the IBM Z Explore Concepts badge. This is a little bit of social proof for the companies that this person is interested. They got a little bit of knowledge now about IBM Z, and they've certainly they're willing to do a bit of work ethic as well. There's no
Yeah.
reward other than the opportunity now to be listed on the Career Depot and put their resume up there. They're then matched with the companies that are on the Career Depot itself. So to facilitate the student side of things, we have a lot of no-cost training That IBM Z Explorer is our latest offering, which is all the bells and whistles and modern techniques of learning, experiential. So you go in there, and before you can finish a module, you have to actually log on to a mainframe and experience the green screen, which is making a comeback, I'm happy to tell you, Des. People are finding that very cool and like the Matrix and all this sort of thing. And then on the employer side, the reason IBM is doing this is the number two reason those employers are buying more IBM Z is if they're confident about the skills pathway. So
Right.
you probably know that in the past there was a little bit of a dip in enthusiasm for mainframe. That has changed now, which is great. But what it's led to is we have a bunch of people in our clients' offices about to retire, and then a bunch of newer people and no one in the middle. So what we need to do is sort of double down on getting these new people in the door. And that's not just students, by the way. We have people reskilling from a totally different career, and our skills material online takes you from zero to hero. It's not, you don't have to be technical at all. You can start from nothing. And as you said, the career is a strong one. It's a stable one. And some of the fears that students have is, mainframe is old. Well, that's definitely not true. The Z17 was released this year. We're already designing the next one. It's got all the modern languages you could want. It's got AI, and actually, its power is better than you're going to get on the cloud. Like, you're going to get a lot more processing power, a lot more security. And we
Yeah.
actually do a presentation that shows this to students. And after they see that, we talk about a Ferrari back in the 1960s that was released that had a top speed of 130 miles per hour. The IBM mainframe started back then. Now, if the IBM mainframe was a Ferrari, it would be going 9 million miles per hour, right? That's how much the mainframe has improved and keeps improving every year. And we keep adding any relevant modern technology that our clients want. And of course, they want AI. And so now they can do it on board. And so these students can now learn all that in our free courses online, our no-cost courses.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that. You mentioned no cost. In my terms, that's free. There is no cost. There's no cost for the sign up, registration. There's no cost for the event, and there's no cost for a lot of the skills and capabilities you can glean from this, particularly the learning element. Um, when we caught up recently, you handed me a card for IBM Z skills, and I hung on to it because it had a couple of things that really jumped out at me. I want them on a t-shirt, by the way. The first one was inspire, and I think that's a large part of what I think people will glean from this event at IBM Z Day 2025. That there's a lot of reasons to be very, very inspired and come away feeling very positive about the opportunities going forward with your career path, with your own learning and skills, but also the opportunities to actually solve big problems, big, hairy problems in the organization with an ecosystem that can, from the start to finish of all these types of technology and business and other innovation requirements, can, for the better part, work into or integrate or run on the IBM Z and Linux One platforms. The connect element, I think it was like the second point on the card you gave me. I saw that as two things: one, connecting with humans, and two, connecting systems and information together. The training element, you've already covered that in great depth, but the last point really jumped out at me from inspire, connect, train was also grow. And I think that's one of the big things I'm seeing now, particularly with folk who are sort of at the millennial age. They're sort of in their, probably very late 20s, early to mid 30s, who have come through their career path, maybe moved through one or two different industries, and they're still actually really looking to grow their career path. They don't want to slow down. They're certainly not thinking about retiring, but they want a bit more stability, but they want to grow their career path with that stability. And I think that's a large part of what sort of the IBM skills program can give them. But from a Gen Z and Gen Alpha space, they're constantly hungry for knowledge, hungry for learning. They're very thirsty for it, as they describe it, as my kids describe it. And there's no better place than to literally just jump onto the tap of the IBM Z Day event and just absorb everything you can pick up from that. Um, I want to talk about two other quick things. You mentioned a couple of those. So the startup element was one of them, and I'll come back to it in a minute because I want to talk about AI first, specifically a startup impact and value add that the Linux One ecosystem that I know you're part of can bring for startups that want to get into the bigger end of town. But we're all talking about AI, and certainly since 2023, when a brand we won't mention the name of made a generative preform transformer in the form of a GPT that you could talk to and chat to your information, could then essentially make AI seem real and human. We've seen this emergence of this technology. I mean, IBM's been around for decades and decades, and IBM in many ways helped invent a lot of the technologies that were things like robotic process automation, machine learning, machine intelligence, and so forth. But when we think about Gen AI now and agentic AI, and then certainly the MCP side of things where we've got protocols that agents can talk to agents, um, why is AI becoming one of the biggest and most critical things that your clients are facing? And where does the IBM Z and mainframe ecosystems sort of fit into that?
So, as you probably know, IBM has a policy of client zero. So we take our AI products and use them in-house.
Yep.
Same with skills, by the way. We actually train our people using the skills program that I mentioned. So since the Z16, so IBM has a range of, if it's a mainframe now from IBM, it's an IBM Z machine, and we're now up to the 17th iteration. The IBM Z16 was a few years ago now. It was the first to have the Telum AI accelerator on the main CPU chip. It was great for traditional AI, inferencing, this sort of thing. We now have the IBM Z17 released earlier this year with Telum 2 chip, which is taking the lessons we learned from the Z16. So a good example is credit card fraud detection. Now, traditionally, you on a mainframe or any system, in order to catch fraud, you would have to sort of do a batch process overnight. It's a long process. You flag the ones that might be fraud. The bank then has to chase down the fraudsters. The money's well gone. What the AI chip allows you to do is real-time fraud detection. This means before the credit card transaction is finished, which is less than a second or so, that transaction is stopped. The money doesn't leave the bank or the vendor or whatever's going on. That saves a lot of time and trouble. Economically, it's great, but just not having to have people chase down fraudsters is great, like emotionally for people as well.
Indeed.
Yeah. So with the Tell 'em 2, what we did was we noticed on the more difficult ones for the AI to tell, like the 10% of cases where they wasn't sure, it was still taking too long to make a decision. So what we did was ramp up those 10%. They get sent to another process that gets even more AI processing power and gets it finished in time. So this is an example of what we're constantly working on. We're at the moment designing the next 3Z machines, always listening to our clients and getting feedback from our clients because obviously that keeps them wanting more IBM Z. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's the sort of path that we're on.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm looking forward to on the day, on November 12th at IBM Z Day 2025, is to kind of draw out more detail on that map around kind of where adoption of AI, I guess the deployment and implementation of AI strategies and solutions can seamlessly integrate with ecosystems I already have, where if I've got some big I and I've got mainframes, whether it's the IBM Z platform natively or the IBM Linux One environment where I've got more access to things like open source and Linux platforms and some of the more modern software development environments that younger folk are looking for from a development point of view, that I want AI to seamlessly integrate. I don't want it to sort of be this little black box that sits somewhere that I'm not really sure what happens. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to be broken out because I know looking at some of the tracks, that is a core part of where AI fits, where it sits, where it can be enabled, where it can be a strength. And as you said, right down into the semiconductors and the chips themselves, you guys have built the intelligence into that. And often when we think about things like even just credit card fraud, as you talked about, if I go and get a coffee and I tap, that happens instantly. It goes over the FPOS terminal, it goes over some infrastructure, whether it's Swift or the bank network, into the back end. Has he got the money? But is it checking that it's actually me tapping? Is it someone that just stood too close with an RFID scanner and grabbed my card out of my pocket? I think they're things that we forget, that artificial intelligence is all the time, 24/7, while we're asleep, checking that we're not being ripped off, robbed, and scammed, and so forth. And we know that fraud is a massive issue now, particularly the big data breaches. But at the other end of the scale, I'm looking forward to learning, and there are a couple of tracks around this, on where that front end interactive experience with, I might have a big database, I might have a data lake, I might have a whole a row of mainframes doing different business systems. And I really just want to have a plain English conversation with them. And I know you've had the Watson environment, you've now got Watson X and a whole range of things where you've had that for a long time, really intelligent graph databases. So I'm looking forward to some of those. less so much in the demos and more about just the conversation around where it's going to fit. Because I think that is now one of the more pressing things, not just with AI, but the implementation, the adoption. How is it going to work? Where will it fit? What can I run it on? What infrastructure have I currently got that I can leverage? And that'll be the eureka moment, I think, for a lot of people when they do register, which we'd love you to do early as possible, for the IBM Z Day 2025 event. Just to go, actually, I've got that infrastructure. I've got access to that, or I've got partners or ecosystem. I'm part of a financial services environment where mainframe's in there. Are we leveraging that for the strength of our AI? Now, we touched on a couple of things before that I want to circle back on just very, very briefly. It's the startup ecosystem and so forth is a big part of what you do. And I don't know that a lot of people may know this, and I just want to touch on it for our audience today, just briefly. The IBM Linux One ecosystem, and particularly the platform, we all know the mainframes are the blue stripes in the front, but a lot of people don't know there's one with an orange stripe, and that's the Linux version of it. And I had the benefit of being involved in very early days. I know in a lab at one point, I forget whether it set a record or not, but we did a demo where we stood up like tens of thousands of Linux VMs in one essentially LPAR on a single machine. And even just the idea you could do that, which, if we're standing up 200 or 300 VMs in a hyperscaler somewhere, alerts go off. To be able to do this on one platform, just mind blowing. And particularly from this cloud scaling point of view, that if we have a ticketing system, we're running 2 or 3 instances of our front end, 100,000 people come to register for a Taylor Swift concert. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. We don't want it to fall over. And this is where the mainframe platform, particularly the Linux One ecosystem, will help us. But the startup ecosystem often is sort of new entrants to the coder market. They're cloud natives, they're cloud first, and they don't always naturally think, oh, I'll put it on a mainframe. But this is where you've been able to actually resolve that challenge, right? You've got the Linux One ecosystem and the platform where all of the latest and greatest sexy new program uh, patterns, designs, architectures, models, programming languages, automations, DevOps, DevSecOps is all available on that platform.
Yeah, and Des, I should circle back to add generative AI as well. And luckily that ties into the Linux One as well. So the IBM has made generally available in October, so just this month, the Spire Accelerator AI cards, which allow the mainframe to do generative AI very efficiently. You have up to 48 of these cards you can slot into the IBM Z box, but they also work on Linux One. That's why we did them as a sort of PCI type card that you can slot in where you need it, which is a great solution. And you mentioned Watson X. We actually have a collaboration with them on Z. The first 2 use cases are really powerful, especially for these students that are learning. They can actually come in and use these tools. One is Watson X Assistant for Z. Now, this helps you be a system administrator. You can say, how do I do this? Go and do this for me. You don't actually have to sit there and do the instructions anymore. Obviously, you would probably learn over time what the instructions are and have the confidence to do it yourself. But this is, really takes out that sort of middle step. And then Watson X Code Assistant for Z is similar, but with coding, with
Hmm.
all the modern languages we now have on Linux One and IBM Z, it will analyze the code for you and tell you what it does, which is, if you're looking at COBOL, that's, hours of work. And then it can also suggest changes. And at IBM, we believe in the human and the AI working together. The human would then approve the code change and check it themselves before actually putting it live, and obviously doing lots of testing and things like that. So Linux One also benefits from the generative AI that, we're getting our community together on the AI track at Z Day to talk about what they use AI on IBM Z and Linux One for, and what they're planning to use the generative AI for. So since earlier this year, our clients have had time to actually use the Linux One 5 that we released earlier this year, along with the IBM Z17. So we're going to hear from clients that are using Linux One 5 and what's different and how it's going for them. And that's really what a lot of our listeners coming into Z Day want to hear. They want to hear about other clients' experience and learn from it, and not have to go through the same trouble that
Yeah,
they've had on Linux One.
indeed. It's there is no time more relevant to that now than now, to avoid any potential pitfalls or risks or failures when there are plenty of examples and case studies that you've got across IBM and all of your environments, particularly the Z and Linux One space, where people have already done this. They've demonstrated it works, and they've got case studies and use cases that you can share without giving away any IP that allow us to repeat that success. Um, the startup element that you cover, I imagine that there's a lot of interest in that space where folk who didn't necessarily know they could get access to the mainframe platform, particularly the Linux One environment, with all of the sort of, desire to get DevOps, DevOps Sec, and all the automation tools and modern languages. I imagine there's been a lot of interest now more so than ever, and particularly leading up to IBM Z Day this year, to sort of learn more about where Linux One platform fits into the ecosystem and how those startups can get access to the platform through that. Because it seems to me like the entrance point to get access to that big infrastructure that we've known for a long time, but may not have always seemed as accessible as it could be. Walk us through sort of your experience with the startup so far, because I know that's part of your overall role and remit, and what some of those conversations are like, and sort of the eureka moments they have when they're like, well, hang on, we can get on there.
Yeah, so there's with the startup community, it's an ecosystem project. So again, we're not pushing our technology on them. Um, Startups, we love to encourage that part of the ecosystem. It's a part of the whole world that IBM doesn't often reach. The startup founders, the startup coders, the developers. We often reach the big end of town. Most of the big clients in the world are IBM clients. And that's where one possibility comes up for startups. So we help them with warm intros to those big clients where they have an appropriate solution. And that's one really good pathway for a startup. So one possible solution is, one of our clients is running Linux One. The startup has a solution for it. So the startup doesn't have to pay for Linux One or anything like that. They just have to provide the solution running on that client's system. So that's one of
Fantastic.
several possible pathways for our startups. But really, it's about getting a flywheel going, getting the startups to talk about IBM Z technology and to help them help themselves, because we have a lot of experience about, what big clients want. And so we tend to attract startups like fintechs, digital assets, working with AI that are doing B2B. They're trying to sell to these big clients, and there's a lot of lessons to learn there that we can help with. That uh, you and I have probably talked to a bunch of startups that have made a lot of mistakes in that area, and really you
Indeed.
only get one or maybe two mistakes before it's all over. So we can help you avoid making those silly mistakes.
Yeah, and there's no better friend than IBM to be walking in the door with you in various forms with regard to getting access to not only opening those doors, but as you said, building up those relationships and delivering capabilities. And I think for a lot of very large organizations, whether you're a bank or an airline or a transport logistics or an educational state and federal government type organization, it's often also difficult to get access to those startups because they're just not in your sphere of influence, where they can make a significant difference to your environment. You just haven't come across them, but then they pop up in the IBM ecosystem, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, this can be done, and this is something that solves a problem we have. And I think it's a win-win-win because the startups win, IBM wins, and the client wins overall. I wonder if we can pivot now to, I want to just highlight a couple of the folk on the day in particular, the overall keynote speakers and the presenters. I'll summarize a couple of those. There's a couple that I'd love to just talk about in particular because we could talk all day just about them. But your IBM Z ecosystem team and yourself there with the event for IBM Z Day 2025 on November the 12th, by the way, for folks. And we'd love you to register wherever you see this. Click on the link and do so. You put together an exciting group of keynote speakers and presenters this year, and I'm going to summarize those if I can very quickly. So you've got an amazing group of IBMers. You've got Tom McPherson, who's the general manager of IBM Z and Linux One. You've got Meredith Stowell, who's the vice president for the IBM Z ecosystem. Tina Tarquina, a friend of mine, who's the chief product officer of IBM Z and Linux One, and we nicknamed her the Queen of Mainframe, a title she's well earned. Elpida Zatzotas, and I apologize if I butchered your name, Elpida, who's an IBM fellow and the CTO for AI on the IBM Z and Linux One ecosystems. Skylar Loomis, who's the general manager for the IBM Z software environment. And a distinguished engineer at IBM, Anne Daines, who is in the space of cryptographic technology and development. You also got Dr. May East, who is from the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, or UNITAR. A couple of quick ones. Firstly, Dr. May East. On earth did you manage to get Dr. East on board, and where does the United Nations Institute for Training and Research sort of fit into this overall ecosystem?
So, Dr. May East, when I exited from the startup world in Australia, Des, I took my money and went to Europe, and I was thinking of sort of giving back and doing tech for good. And I got involved in a lot of the communities there. I'm vice president of Ivy Plus European Leaders, which is a global think tank, mostly the American big schools and the European, what they call Grande École in France, having events in Paris, in-person events, which is Z-Day is an online virtual event. So I'm in two minds between in-person events are great, but it's limited how many people can see it. So that's one thing I like about Z-Day. So I came across Dr. May East working with one of these Tech for Good groups that was working with the universities there. And she's a great woman who's not just working with the UN, she's passionate about sustainability, the environment, women building cities, a whole lot of interesting topics that appeals to me as on the intellectual level. And so she's a great speaker for us, usually every year. And we have a lot of these outside voices. The keynote speakers you mentioned, they're all from IBM. Elpida joined the IBM Z forum tour, where I was a speaker in Australia and New Zealand. She gave a great keynote on the new AI capabilities of IBM Z, but again, to a set room of our clients. Now, IBM Z Day, you're going to hear from her give the same talk to everybody. But other than our keynote speakers from IBM, we actually have lots of external voices, and that's the point of Z Day. This really is an event for our community, not IBM. We're proud that we keep the number of IBM attendees like around the 5% level. So 95% of the people attending are from outside IBM, clients, students, people interested, people who hadn't heard of IBM Z Day before. They're all welcome. If you see Mainframe as an opportunity, which you should, come along and you'll learn a lot more in the skills track and other places. So yeah, lots of clients and students, and yeah, great day for
Fantastic.
everyone.
So, for our audience as well, I just want to highlight there was one element we touched on that, but I want to break it out a bit more because I probably didn't do it justice. So, there's a whole section on the event website for IBM Z Day where you can learn skills. You can go and learn either at your own time or on the day. You can get the training, you can get the education and learning, and you also get tested and certification, and you get a badge that you can go and put on your CV or your resume. You can put it on your LinkedIn profile. You can put it in places where people are going to find out that you have, as Adam said before, on your own bat, invested the time and the resource to go and do the training, learn the skills, get tested and certified, and then IBM stands behind you saying, yes, this person has this badge, this merit, this certification, we will back them. They can do this thing that we've taught them now. And I think a lot of people don't understand just how important that is. I think younger generations sort of watch YouTube videos and learn from that, but they don't actually come away with any sort of proven certification or a brand like IBM saying, yep, this person's actually been certified by us. We will back them. If they say they've got this IBM certification and badge, we're happy to say and ratify that, yes, this person really has those skills. We've trained them, we've tested them. And some of the big topics, there's four in particular I just want to call out. There's AI and data, that's a no-brainer, but these are things that you should be jumping on straight away, and there's no cost. No cost whatsoever. No fee, as Adam says, or free in my mind. Security, also a no-brainer. Modernization, that's a broader topic, but I think it's a really important one to do because it gives you a language and a vocab with which to go into any conversation, any meeting, any scrum, any startup, or just a conversation over coffee and describe what modernization means across business systems, business infrastructure, data, and of course, all the things like AI. And of course, there's some underpinning foundational IBM Z skills, which again give you language and vocab with which to go and have a conversation about why this platform is an important part of the ecosystem your business should be using and so forth. So they are all there. Attendees can earn those badges across IBM Z Day 2025. It's an annual thing and it just continues to grow. I'm going to be doing them. Those badges are going to get added to my collection of, I've lost track of how many now I've got, not just from IBM and others. Adam, I wonder if you can wrap us up. You've given us a great walkthrough of the keynotes, the topics, the format, the background, and so forth, a bit of insight into you and your role. It's going to be an amazing event. And as I said before, folks, wherever you see this, whether it's on our YouTube channel, whether it's on digital social platform somewhere, there will be links to everything we want you to check out. But the number one thing is click on the link to the event website and register. Register now. And for whatever reason, as I said, if you can't even attend on the day, which we'd love you to do because you get some of the live Q&A and some of the training, plan to absorb it later and share it far and wide. But you also, and I know this sounds strange, but you also potentially can opt into the mailing list, which keeps you up to date with all the latest news and blogs and things that you should be across post-event, which may sound weird because everyone wants to opt out of mailing lists. It's not spam. IBM's not known for spamming. But what it does in my case is I am now going to be completely across all things I want to know about IBM Z, Linux One, and all the ecosystem stuff that I should be across without having to go and Google it and find it or talk to a GPT and say, what's new with IBM Z? That needs to be on a t-shirt as well. I wonder, Adam, if you could wrap us up briefly over a couple of minutes, just with what I would consider a little bit of crystal ball gazing. If you were to gaze into a virtual crystal ball as a wrap up, what do you think CEOs and their teams should be discussing right now in their boardrooms and across organizations at the water coolers, whatever it may be, to be well placed, or if not best placed, to take advantage of both what they're going to glean from your event at IBM Z Day 2025 on November the 12th, as well as the upcoming new and emerging trends and technologies like AI that you will be covered? What should they be talking about right now across the organizations, and particularly at boardrooms, to ensure that they are going to be leveraging everything that you make available and all the big things that are going to be impacting them over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, there's easy answer these days. So you just say AI. You put that on your startup deck, whether you really got a use case or not. But yes, all of our big and medium clients are interested in leveraging AI. They want to be more productive, and I do hear people, afraid about AI and saying, "Oh, it's going to replace all our jobs." I don't see that future for AI, and certainly IBM's approach is, combining the human and AI, as I mentioned. But what I'd like to do is talk about like two different startups, let's say, or two different corporations that both had the opportunity to leverage AI. Okay, on the one hand, this company just keeps producing the same amount, but it cuts back heavily on their staff to cut costs. So they're making no extra revenue or profit, but they're making more profit but no extra revenue. And then the other company says, okay, instead of cutting staff, we're going to up our production. Now, if both companies are able to scale, like they've got no ceiling, obviously this company that is going to leverage AI to produce more, in sort of enable the humans to 10x, 100x their productivity, they're going to win. They're going to win more of the market, and they're going to be better off. Their share price is going to go up. So I don't see this sort of black and white future with AI, but
Mhm.
we'll see. As far as I working with AI and IBM, I'd like to explain the do more at the core and what that means. You'll hear more about this on IBM Z Day, but we released the IBM Z17 and Linux 1.5 earlier this year in a special edition of IBM Z Day, which what we do every release year. So normally IBM Z Day is once a year around Q3, Q4, but this year was a special launch year, so we've had to put on two Z Days this year, which is a lot of work for us. Those were rolled out earlier this year, and at the special edition Z Day, we weren't able to talk about clients using the Z17 or Linux 1.5 because it had just been GA'd, but now they've had time. We've had a record rollout of the Z17. We've sold more of those than we've ever sold before, so things are looking great there. But that means our clients have had a chance to use it, use the AI. So instead of trying to work out how to leverage AI on the mainframe, you can just come and watch other people that are doing it. And do more at the core is what we're demonstrating and what we've been talking about around the world for the last sort of 3 months or so. You've got your IBM Z mainframe, you've got your security, your performance that most people know about, that why clients stay on IBM Z and not onto a pure cloud solution. They might go hybrid cloud. You got your IBM Z box, you've got your Telum processor I mentioned earlier that accelerates traditional AI, and there's a lot of use cases beyond credit card for fraud detection than that. But the exciting thing is now the Spire cards can be plugged in to add very fast generative AI capability. So you don't need to leave the box. Okay, let's say you've got your data and your processing power on your IBM Z17. You can now do your generative AI processes right there on the box. The data doesn't have to leave the box. You can do all your traditional AI, and that's since the Z16. So what this means is do more at the core is you don't have the security implication of sending data anywhere. You have obviously a lot of speed because the data hasn't had to go very far. And it's actually more sustainable and environmentally friendly. And so that is what a lot of our clients are going to be talking about. And giving real world examples of that is going to be very interesting.
Indeed. And there's two things I'll close out on for our audience, as well as remind you, we do want you to find the link wherever you see this and click on the IBM Z Day 2015 website and have a look at what we've been talking about, learn more about it, see what you can glean from the event, and then register and get on board and join us on the day, be part of the Q&A and so forth live if you can. If not, share it with your team and consume it when you're available, whatever time zone you're in. And as Adam said, there is a combination of both US-centric and global time zones, not just Australia and New Zealand, but the whole APAC region. I love that focus on the do more with the core though. To me, a lot of that's around making sure that all of your data stays on the processor, as they say. Whether it's AI, data processing workload, or the capacity in general. If you've got it all in the same environment, same system, same CPU, as you said, the data's not traveling around, so it's not slowing down. It's not having to move across potentially multiple secure environments. There's no risk of gaps. And I also like the focus on doing more and getting more business value and intelligence and modernization at the core of the operations element. I think those two things, more than anything, are great reasons to turn up. But the other thing I want to leave our audience with is that I'm constantly talking to people from CEO and board level down, and the two things that they're being challenged with beyond AI and all those things, but it has been the case for decades and decades, and they are this. A reduced time to return on investment. That's a no-brainer. Everybody wants a dollar back from their investment as quickly as possible. But one of the things that's coming up lately in the last, when I say lately, the last 15 years, is a reduced time to market. Now, when you talk about reduced time to ROI and reduced time to market, these are two very powerful metrics that you can use to then go back to the business and say, if we go down this platform, if we learn about, let's say in this case, IBM Z and Linux One, if we can leverage all that capability and the scale and the processing and the power and the security and all the other elements to bring to it, now startups can come along and offer us their new exciting capabilities. If we can do that and reduce the time to market, get things out quicker, and then we can dramatically reduce the time that it takes us through a return on investment. I don't know a single board that I presented this to who hasn't got up and jumped up and down and high-fived each other going, this is unbelievable. We can get 2 for 2. Reduced ROI time and reduced go-to-market time. So I think those things and all the things you discussed today with us regarding your event are big reasons to jump on the link, register and come along on November the 12th for IBM Z Day 2025. Hear from amazing speakers, be part of the conversation. Final quick question for you, Adam. Where, beyond the event website, we'll have links. Where are some of the places that you recommend people keep a track of what's not just happening at IBM, but IBM Z ecosystem? I know you've got a whole range of things. You've got video channels, podcasts, you've got shows, you've got conversations like this, but there must be some obvious channels you talk about, whether it's going to the part of the website, whether it's following on digital and social platforms. What are the sort of things that you recommend people do above and beyond coming to the event to keep abreast of what you're doing yourself professionally, the group you're part of, and the IBM Z ecosystem, and all the latest and greatest things coming out of IBM?
So, Des, one great thing when you sign up to IBM Z Day, we collect some information from you that is solely to have you actually join the community. So you actually automatically get created an ID you can use. And if you Google IBM Z community, you will find our community website. And we've recently released a new version of that called the Neighborhood, which, very proud of that. So yeah, check that out. So long as AWS isn't down, the internet should work. And for me personally, LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach me. I'd love to hear from startups that are interested in the sort of technology that IBM Z does, which is to help big banks and big finance to be secure. We're covering like 70% of the world's value in transactions around the world, and 90% of credit card transactions. That's all an IBM Z box somewhere processing that for you. You can go to LinkedIn and just search my name exactly, Adam LG Ring, and you'll find me. I'll be the first result there. Just send me a message saying, "Oh, I'm interested," and then I'll connect with you and chat more.
Fantastic. Well, Adam, it's been great to catch up with you. Thanks so much for making time to share all these great insights, a little bit of background yourself and what a day in the life of Adam LG Ring is like in your role. and of course, all the relevant details around the event. Folks, just to wrap up quickly, thanks, Adam. Appreciate your time. For our audience, wherever you see this, as I said all through today's conversation, there will be links to all these resources. The number one is the IBM Z Day website. Click on it, register, see what you can learn. Tune in live if you can. If not, consume it on demand. I also recommend bring a pad and pen, take notes, and figure out what you can take away from this to have conversations around your team, and share it with the group in your organization or peers and colleagues. Maybe even have an IBM Z Day catch up, get a cut lunch and so forth. I've done this in the past myself with not just IBM events with others, but certainly IBM events where I've got a group of people together in a room. We've ordered some takeaway, we've got some beverages, because it also gives us a chance to have a conversation in the room about what we're learning and sort of kickstart conversations. And we're really looking forward to November the 12th. It'll be an amazing event, and I know that some of these speakers have got some great experience to bring to the table. Some of your partners have as well. And we will look forward to having you back on the show again. But firstly, congratulations on the upcoming event, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the day.
Thanks, Des. And yeah, keep an eye out, audience, for the IBM Z Day watch parties, which we are, as you suggested, Des, organizing around the world, which is a great sort of community way to experience it. Yes, great.
Indeed. All right. Thanks, Adam. Have a great day. Stay safe and safe travels.
Thank you.